Hi, welcome to Mindful Healthy Habits with Kevin. Today we're going to talk about your awareness levels, like how your mood is throughout the day, what causes them to go down, and what you can do to bring your levels back up. When I talk about levels, I talk about a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst day you've ever had, all the way up to a 10 where it's like one of the best days. We don't typically live in the 1 in 10. It happens, a few times in our life. Typically we're somewhere between the 2 and 9 range. Even a 9 day is like one of those, special days where it's your birthday or your first child is born or you get married or something really, really over the top special. And those don't happen all the time either. And the 2s and the 3s are, it's a really bad day. It's a traumatic experience. Something has happened that has really brought us to a low point. So again, we're not typically living in those ranges. We're somewhere probably between 4 and 8. And so I always say 7 to 8 is that perfect range. Anywhere between that is like you're in the flow, you're feeling good, you feel lucky, you feel like people are working with you, life is working with you, and it's just an amazing feeling. When you drop into that, 4 or 5 range, it's okay, nothing bad has happened, nothing seriously bad has happened, but you're just off, like something's just not right. And if you're in that 6 range, that kind of in between, it's, again, nothing great has happened, nothing bad has happened, you're just kind of blah, and sometimes we go through levels like that where we're just kind of coasting through, nothing really exciting is happening. But there's things you can do to bring your levels up. And today I'm going to talk about your awareness of what brings them down. Because if you're not aware of what brings your levels down, then you may not even know, you may not have the awareness that, hey, I'm a 4 right now, I'm a 5 right now because I'm hungry, or because I just interacted with somebody that is really, really tough on me and hard on me and brought me down. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep last night, and so I'm feeling like a 5. So you got to have that awareness first. You got to have that awareness of what your levels are at, and then double down on that and realize what made my levels go down. Why? What caused my levels to dip? And then when that happens, to immediately take action to bring them back up. And yes, there's things you can do that almost instantly will change the momentum. If you started your day at a 7 or an 8 and it started to go down, 6, 5, and what's next? 4? There's something you can do at 5 to change the momentum, to bring it back to a 6, bring it back to a 7. There's things you can do, and we're going to talk about that in a little later in the video. So just imagine you're driving down the highway on a car, in a vehicle, in any vehicle, and you're in your lane. And it happens from time to time where you kind of drift off from one side to the other, and you veer off into another lane. And as soon as you're aware of what's happening, what do? You adjust and you bring it back into the lane that you're supposed to be in. That is what life can be like. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, when they start drifting, they just go right off the road. They're not even on the road anymore. They're like in the ditch somewhere. And then they're like, well, how did I get here? Well, as soon as you start to notice you veer off, you adjust. You're like, whoa, and then you bring it back. And life, if you can do that with your levels, as soon as you notice your levels dropping, to immediately bring them back with certain strategies, certain techniques that you can do to bring them back. And again, we're going to talk about that today. So the first example I give is you find your levels are low because you're hungry. You got a little bit angry, you're short with people, you're feeling like a 5, you were just a 7 or an 8, a few minutes ago, an hour ago, and now you're starting to feel hungry. You notice that you're hungry. Okay, you're aware, like, whoa, I'm not myself right now. I'm low, my levels are low because I'm hungry. I'm getting a little agitated, a little annoyed by things that normally don't annoy me. And so what do? If you're proactive the next day, let's say you had a snack, you could have a snack, but let's say you didn't pack a snack that day and you had to wait until lunchtime. The next day, learn from your mistakes. I'm going to pack more snacks. I'm going to maybe eat a little bit of a bigger breakfast. I'm going to make sure that that doesn't happen again. My levels were low yesterday because at this time, I was hungry. I either didn't eat enough breakfast or I need to pack a snack just to get me to lunch. So learn from your mistakes. Learn from my levels were low yesterday because, and then adjust. So the next day I'm going to bring snacks. I'm going to bring, some non-perishable snacks that I can just keep around. And in case of emergency like that day where I was like really agitated, and it was mostly, there's other factors, but it was mostly because you were hungry, and you have to learn from that. You have to adjust. The next example I'm going to give is being around a toxic person, somebody who brings your levels down. This may be a family member, it may be a coworker. The first thing I would say is avoid the person, but what if you can't? What if you can't avoid this person? What if you have to be around them? You have to interact with them. Well, you know that when you're around this person, your levels go lower. So what you can do is before you interact with that person, you can take some breathing techniques. You can calm yourself down before. Make sure you're at a real 8. Before you go into that situation, make sure you're feeling really good. Because if you're a 6 and you go in interacting with that person, it's going to bring you down lower to a 4, maybe even a 3. But if you go in there at an 8 and you're feeling really good and you're feeling really calm and you're non-reactive, that person is not going to be as annoying or as intimidating as they normally are. So you can go beforehand, make sure you get some breath work in, take a couple of deep breaths, maybe close your eyes for a little bit, maybe take a brisk walk before that, maybe do a little inner body hand meditation, something that you have your own list of self-soothing, healthy exercises you can do that always just makes you feel good. So if you're at a 6 and in about 20 minutes, I'm going to be seeing this person or I'm going to be interacting with this person, do everything you can. Just make it your mission to calm down before you meet that person. Go in to that interaction at a 7 or even an 8 so that when it happens, it's so much more tolerable. You can manage it. That person might drop you down to a 6 or even a 7, but then you're still good. You're still good. You're in control. And that's what you got to do. There's nothing else you can do. You can do techniques as well. Be very mindful. Almost step out of you interacting with the person and watch it almost like you're watching it on a movie or a TV. Watch it from a different perspective. Sometimes that helps. Like when you can walk and the person does something that would normally annoy you and you kind of notice it and you kind of chuckle to yourself like, that would have normally really annoyed me, but right now it didn't. It's because you stepped back. You weren't in it it was almost like someone was telling you that, hey, this person did this to me. And you're like, well, that sucks. But it doesn't necessarily affect you as much. When it affects you one-on-one, then it's more personal. You take it harder. But if you can step back even from your own self, still interact with that person, but watch it as if you're interacting with them, that can help you just alleviate some of that pressure and some of that stress that comes along with, how am I going to interact with this person? I just step back, let them do their thing. I react calmly. You're calm. If you go into that interaction at a 7 or an 8, that person's going to notice it. Trust me, they'll feel it. And they'll maybe even come up. They may be a 4 when they interact with you. But then because you're calm, because you go into that situation at an 8, they'll sense that vibe and maybe it'll bring them up to a 5. Some people interact with others and they always see annoying. They always see like just hate. They always see anger. They always see that person is so mean to me. Well, you went into it at a 4. That person sensed your 4 and met you at that. If you go into it at a 7 or an 8, a little higher, a little happier, a little more easygoing, that person's going to sense that. It may even bring their levels up to a 5 or a 6, which is more manageable. The next example I'm going to give is when you're tired. What if you're really tired and you notice your levels are low because you're super tired? Well, when you're in the thick of the day, there's not much you can do. You can do some energizing breaths, okay? When you've emphasized your inhale, like really deep inhales, and then a short exhale, that can be an energizing breath. If you want a relaxing breath, then you emphasize more on the exhale. You do a longer exhale. So there's certain type of breaths you can do that really energizes you. If you're able to, you can go have a quick cold shower somewhere just to energize yourself if you're that tired. There's healthy ways you can get around being tired other than giving in, sticking with an extra coffee or energy drink. You don't need that. There's natural ways you can to feel energized. There's exercises you can do, really quick ones that are like a minute or 2, and they'll make you feel more alert, okay? Some of them are like cross crawls where you have your hands out and you just cross the meridian of the body and you touch one side, your right side, with your left leg, and you go back and forth. That is a great way to have you feel more alert. I call it yoga coffee because it really does wake you up. I have an exercise on this that I teach in my other classes, and it's great. Like, it always makes you feel alert. It only takes a minute or 2 to do, and it gets both hemispheres of the brain going. That's a really natural way to get yourself up. So you got your breath, you got some techniques, you got a brisk walk or stretching. That can get you feeling better again when you're tired. But then you learn from it. Why was I tired? What can I do the next day so that I'm not feeling tired, my levels aren't dropping? That's where your evening routines, your evening before bed, making sure you don't have electronics or that bright light, at least a half an hour before sleep, maybe even longer. Get back into a nice, healthy before bedtime routine so that you can get your sleep. So now you're planning the night before. Sometimes what you do the night before will dictate your next day. It'll dictate your sleep and it'll dictate how well you feel the next day. So if you can have a nice, healthy habit routine the night before, then you know that the next day is going to be a little bit more smoother. If you're having trouble with sleep, there's again mindfulness massage techniques you can do just before bed to kind of slow down your busy thoughts, relax your body, and get you more ready for sleep. There's a lot of different things you can do before bed. A nice hot bath, you can read, you can just have nice healthy habits that will allow you to sleep the next day. So yeah, my levels are low because I'm tired. There's things I can do in the moment to make me feel a little bit more energized, natural things. And then there's things I can do night before to make sure that I get the best sleep that I can, so that my levels are higher throughout the day. That's what I have for you today. Try to keep those levels up. Try to use techniques throughout the day to keep yourself at a 7 or an 8. And when you feel like your levels are low, make a note of it. Learn from it. The next day, make adjustments. Life is always about making adjustments. Make little adjustments here, pack an extra snack, do a little bit of a breathing or a calming technique before you interact with that, stressful person. Make sure you have really good, healthy before bedtime routines so you can get a really nice sleep. Just do things that don't keep making the same mistakes over and over again and not learn from what drops your levels. Learn from what makes your levels drop, and then make adjustments and do the best you can in that situation. I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you.